What's up, everybody? Before we get into it with you guys today, we want you all on March 1st to come join C2 Wrestling here on YouTube as we watch live WWE's Elimination Chamber PLE, the last stop before WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas. Can John Cena find his way to that WrestleMania to win his 17th World Championship? Who knows? But we want to hang out with you all when we find out if he can do it. So you got to stay subscribed. You got to have the notifications on with C2 Wrestling. How else would you know when we go live? Come here on March 1st to hang out with your boys and have some fun.
How's it going, everybody? C2 Wrestling coming at you again tonight with an NXT review. But first, we want you guys to head to the C2 Wrestling channel on YouTube and like, subscribe, comment on all of our videos. We want those notifications on. We got Elimination Chamber coming up in which your boys, Snowden and CTD, will be live watching, reacting, reviewing. So make sure to turn those notifications on and come hang out with us. But as for tonight, NXT, we got a couple big things to get to, man. It's what a crazy NXT in the middle of, February random episode. And they got some big things going down. Before we even get into it, I got to say, we've been saying this forever. You got to watch NXT, man. That simple.
I get it's the first show after a PLE, so you expect it to be a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
But good Lord, man, when NXT empties the clip, they empty the clip. Jesus, I mean, anything and everything this show has, and to be honest, it's pretty much NXT every week is this good. And now with the TNA partnership, anything can happen, as we're seeing from this show. Some big moments. There's probably three biggest moments to talk about, and they all feel so big. I don't even know which one you talk about first.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll start the show with what they started the show with, and that is Obafemi coming out, cutting a little promo. Love the Obafemi walk, and I love the stance too in the ring. It's so good. He is so good, man. I said it last week. If it wasn't for a guy like Gunther, it might be an Obafemi stan account, if you ask me. But he comes out to the ring, trying to cut a little promo, get the guys to come out from last week, the new stable, new faction, which, we're still watching the main event, but it's a four-man faction. I don't think they're quite coming out. Little strange they weren't really involved tonight. But who did we get instead? We got Moose coming over from TNA. Now, X Division champion comes out, interrupts Obafemi, but then later on in the show, we also get announcement that Moose will be having a match next week, defending the X Division Championship against Lexis King. How do you feel about that?
You mentioned that four-man group. I'm assuming that's who attacked all the tag teams.
Yes,
and
sure.
I assume that's going to be how they get through this Moose Obafemi match. Probably a no contest from, an attack from all four of them. But man, was this not my match on? I think it was, right? Obafemi wasn't.
Oh man, was it?
It was, yeah. For those of you that don't know, we fantasy booked. We are talking like week 2 of C2 Wrestling.
Yeah.
The start of this, we fantasy booked a TNA or an NXTNA Worlds Collide event, which pretty much could happen. Like it basically happens every week at this point. And I'm pretty sure Obafemi was the North American champion at the time.
Correct.
And my match was Obafemi versus Moose for the title. And now it is finally coming to fruition.
Yeah, I mean, guaranteed we get Moose versus Oba at some point, I'm sure. Is that the stand and deliver direction? Is Moose versus Oba? I mean, again, you would have thought, they'd be building up Trick back to, even if he doesn't beat Oba, get that one last match to stand and deliver. Maybe not. Maybe they go a different route. Moose next week facing the Heritage Cup champion, Lexis King, in Lexis King's hometown. I'm sure he might take a loss there. I mean, maybe these guys come out and interrupt that match too. Who knows? Maybe that already puts Moose and Oba kind of on the same side against this new faction. Wouldn't be surprised to see the two of them take on two guys out of that faction at some point. But this TNA crossover, man, couple minutes into NXT, paying attention. No idea who's coming out. Moose's music hits, like anything can happen. It really just makes it so much more unpredictable.
I would assume that's the main event of the Garden, the theater.
Oh yeah, you're right. I totally forgot they're having that show at the Garden.
Yeah, that's probably the main event for that. But it feels like so Stand and Deliver, we might get the Hardys versus Fraxium of Stand and Deliver.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we've said it before, but the Hardys versus Fraxium, that is a hell of a match. I've been on board on saying that Fraxium should hold on to those tag titles for a while, maybe even go up to the main roster with them. But if you're going to have them lose them, there's some tag teams that are on the come up in NXT, but maybe you have them lose them to the Hardys, and the Hardys go double champs, TNA and NXT tag team champions. That would be a sight to see. Who better to do that than the Hardys as well? But I don't know. Regardless, though, that's an insane match. I did not expect No Quarter Catch Crew, Tavion Heights, and Miles Bourne to call out the Hardys tonight. Did not see that coming.
Tonight, as insane as tonight was, next week is going to be even crazier because we have the Hardys match. We have Ricky's in-ring debut, which we'll talk about Ricky in a second. Like, things are just firing one after another. We have the Moose versus Lexus King match. I know NXT's on the road. This show's in Cincinnati, I believe, right?
Yeah.
So, they're not messing around with these shows. TNA is going to be doing a live show and taping Thursday and Friday in Orlando. So expect something big to happen there. The NXT is just wrapping up right now, and those four guys beat the brakes off of someone. Who is that?
Looked like an official, kind of. I don't know. They didn't really show
No, is that Rob Stone? I can't see.
Was it? I saw it very briefly. It didn't really give good enough of an angle. Saw it out of the corner of my eye.
Yeah, I'm on a monitor, so I couldn't really tell. But I don't even remember what I was saying, but NXT fucking rules.
Point of the story is NXT fucking rules. But a lot did go down tonight from the Hardys potentially coming over next week. You were kind of saying next week's going to be massive. It's must-see TV now. This week was already must-watch. If you have been watching NXT, you know that every episode of NXT is must-watch wrestling. Next week, man, those ratings are going to skyrocket a little bit just from the Hardys alone. You stack the rest of the card around that, and you got yourself a hell of a show. Not only did we get Moose defending his X Division championship next week, not only are we going to get the Hardys in a tag match next week, we're going to be getting the brand new, what is it? Rocky Stonks? Ricky Stanks?
Rolly Stonks.
Rolly Stonks. Ricky Saints in NXT. I like the name personally. I know there's going to be a lot of discourse about the name change, but I think the fans that complain about it, they'll find ways to cope with it.
So he is from New Orleans. Makes sense.
Yep.
I'm going to keep it a buck.
Okay.
I'm going to be 100% honest here.
Yeah.
Ricky Stark's fire name.
Yes.
Of course. Ricky Saints. If you truly give a fuck about this, this is the 10 millionth time of this. Yeah. I hate to break it to you, but if a wrestler is good, a name change has to be so drastically bad for it to actually mess anything up. If you see that name change and you go, well, I'm out on Ricky now, who truly gives a fuck? It's the same as when Fergal Devitt became Finn Balor, for when Walter became Gunther. The list goes on and on and on.
If what I'm hearing is true, poor Ricky Starks. As you said, Ricky Starks is a great name. I would have, yes, if you gave me the executive decision, I would have let him come in as Ricky Starks, sure. But they changed the name. Maybe he wanted to change it. Maybe it's his call. We don't know that. Maybe it's a new era of Ricky Saints, and he wanted to change it over. It's not a bad name change either. Gunther got Gunther over. Finn Balor made Finn Balor work. I remember at the time thinking Finn Balor was a horrible name. If he made that work, and it's supernatural now, Ricky Saints will be just okay. It's crazy that there's that much discourse over the name change. All companies, too, do that. When people go over to other companies, and the indies, they kind of just get guys around. But people that leave WWE go to these other companies and name change as well. So it's no different anywhere else.
Also, not to rank them, but this feels like much on the better side of the name changes. Yeah. This is kind of similar to, I know when it first came, people weren't crazy about it, but it reminds me of Kevin Steen going Kevin Owens. It was all right, he kept the Kevin. This still makes sense. Like, this isn't the worst thing ever. This is exactly how I felt. And honestly, I didn't really give a fuck if they were going to change his name. They could have just called him Ricky. I would have been like, all right, fine. I don't care. Like, I
Yeah,
still like the
yeah,
guy. He's still great. So who
yeah,
cares?
yeah. It really is crazy. You know, the name, as you said, pretty much exactly. If the guy is good, he'll get the name over, and it's going to be the most normal name ever. People are already, me included, is Ricky Saints now. It's just Ricky Saints. I don't have to slip of the tongue Ricky Starks him ever. Some names are a little bit more glued to guys for a while. I wasn't, that tied to the Ricky Starks name, but we get to see him compete next week. I wasn't sure if they were going to hold him out a little bit or if they were going to go that route, maybe get him a tag match, a singles match before his big, pay-per-view PLE debut, which at this rate, is it against Ethan Page?
I think his first one would be Wesley.
Yes.
So Ethan Page and Javon Evans finish up. Now, do you get Ethan Page, Javon Evans all the way till Stand and Deliver? That feels kind of far. Ricky Saints versus Ethan Page at Stand and Deliver. That feels like a money marquee match. I actually, not to fully change topics, but back on the name change, I did get some inside scoop that I did have. There was strong influence in the name change. When he signed, the news was coming, and the Eagles had just won the Super Bowl in New Orleans. And they were like, well, we can't name him Ricky Eagles. That doesn't feel right. It's like, well, they won in New Orleans. Let's just call him Ricky Saints. And I sent that text to Mr. Heartbreak in our group chat. Separate one. I wanted to surprise you with it. It was just me, Trips, and Heartbreak. And I said, guys, I think Ricky Saints is money.
Well, it's a hell of a surprise. I had a feeling you were going that route, Ricky Go Birds doesn't,
yeah, it doesn't have the same ring,
Ricky Saints, it's a little bit more subtle. It was in New Orleans, makes a lot of sense. It is incredible TV, man. From Ricky to the Hardys to Moose to Oba to Stephanie being champion to this new faction coming over. Julia's still hot, special. I like what they got going on in the mid card right now. Tony D, the family, they're getting a little bit involved with Sean Spears' faction. Wesley's got a couple guys by his side. A lot of stables, a lot of factions right now down there in NXT, but that's okay. It's incredible stuff to see, man. We had, we didn't really discuss this quite yet, but we had Santino pop up at the PLE on Saturday as well. Maybe we're going to start to get more crossover there. He's clearly tied in with his daughter, Ariana Grace, so maybe we're going to start to get even more crossover.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Because they had a social post with Santino of him naming like the top 5. I don't know if it was his top 5 or 5 names he wants to see from NXT in TNA. Crick was on the list. Do you know who the first person that was on that list? And I don't know if this was, I scrolled past. I don't know if this was like his number 1 or if it was just like, he was naming 5.
I think I did the same thing and I scrolled by it real quick. Was it Nikita?
It was fucking Nikita Lyons.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Give me a break.
I think he's just hoping she'll have to leave the NXT facility and get into the parking lot where something bad will happen, and then maybe she's ran off.
I mean, she got the double Stone Cold, so
she got the double Stone Cold.
It won't take much.
Yeah, double Stone Cold's at younger than us is. Oh man,
not too great. But back on the positive notes of NXT, watching this, I was like, damn, I know we're going live for Elimination Chamber on March 1st, but it feels like we should have been live for this. Not that you can fully expect it, but that's the beauty of NXT. Even when you kind of have a hunch, like, all right, this NXT is probably going to be pretty good. You're getting Ricky's contract signing. You're getting Jordan Grace showing up. It's still just like, you would have never guessed that this is the episode that Moose shows up and challenges Obafemi, that the Hardys officially show up back on WWE television, which, like, I can't stress that enough. That is huge. That is unreal.
Massive. This is the slow start to the 2026 Hall of Fame induction for the Hardy Boys, probably, if I would say so myself. You have Moose come over again, super unexpected. Didn't see that coming. We got some side stuff by this new faction, but that's what I thought was going to happen. I thought this new faction was going to come out and confront Oba and someone's going to go down there. Moose coming out was absolutely a surprise to me. again, you got to stay on your toes with this TNA crossover. NXTNA. It's one of the best things the company has truly done in a long time.
Yeah, I'm excited for TNA's tapings, their live show Thursday tapings. I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of NXT talent, but I'm also excited for us doing podcasts, recaps, reviews, live streams, all here on C2 Wrestling. You got to be subscribed. You got to have notifications turned on. You got to follow us on our socials, which are
TikTok, Instagram, X, Twitter. That's all.
That's it.
Yeah, that's all.
See ya.
Have fun.